that we had also been able to see some audio-visual representation of personal works and the history of the visual art. And now we are starting the third session of the first day of the World Theatre Forum. And we are extremely happy that we have as chair none other than Mohan Maharishi. Mohan Maharishi is not only one of the senior most theatre director of the country, but he has contributed in making theatre from all kinds of material, from plays, from novels, from other related texts. And his plays had always remained remained at the crossroad of different perspectives of narrative. There were visual narrative, textual narrative, the narrative through the scenography, the narrative to the speech of the actors, the narratives that is built between the performance and the audience. And over last almost 5 decades, we have looked at his work astonishingly surprised. And he had also remained the director of National School of Drama. His extensive work in Mauritius and other countries has inspired many, many generations of artists. We are very happy to have him here. And we have 3 speakers for today's post-lunch session. We have Mr. Stefan Blaeske. Dr. Stefan Blaeske is dramaturg of Melo Rao and the IIPM, International Institute of Political Murder. That's very intriguing. He studied theatre and media studies, philosophy, politics and administration studies in Germany and France, and wrote his PhD at the University of Vienna, Austria, about self-reflection and media reflection in contemporary theatre. He worked at the State Theatre, Residence Theatre in Munich, and was teaching at several universities and art schools. With Melo Rao, he worked at Schaubühne Berlin, Schauspielhaus Zurich, and others. Their productions were invited, for example, to Kunstfestival Brussels and Theater Treffen Berlin, and worldwide presented in more than 20 countries. The theatre critics of Germany, Austria and Switzerland, Theatre Heute, elected Stefan Blaeske the Dramaturg of the Year in 2017. And of course, we have with us none other than Professor Dr. Rajeev Lochan. Practicing artist, Professor Dr. Rajeev Lochan, former director, National Gallery of Modern Art, had been at the helm of affairs of the institution for over 16 years. The aim of Professor Lochan had been to take art beyond the 4 walls of any institution and engage the mass in vibrant cultural activities. He has mounted innumerable exhibitions and had contributed enormously in the academic realm, both nationally and internationally. Having taught for over 2 decades and lectured at various forums, he has extensively contributed to the larger understanding of creative expression, both the level of the masses as well as the academic discipline. Having been conferred a D.Litt from Kyoto City University of Arts and awarded a Lifetime Achievement Award by the Omani Society of Fine Arts, along with many other awards as part of his recognition in the discipline. A very, very warm welcome to you. And we are also very happy to have Professor Sandeep Chatterjee. Oh yeah, of course. Professor Sandeep Chatterjee is a filmmaker and teacher of cinema whose work spans around 25 years. He is a distinguished alumnus of the Film and Television Institute of India, FTII, Pune, where he is currently the head of the Department of Direction and Screenwriting. Apart from Sundar Jiban, a film based on a story by iconic Bengali poet Sri Jibanananda Das, in which incidentally, this is not a part of the biodata, but in which incidentally I played a role, that has won the National Award from the President of India. Sandeep has made influential films like Raat Koto Holo, based on a story by Sri Afsar Ahmed. Sandeep Chatterjee's films have been screened at film festivals across the country. He has taught in various film schools and has conducted workshops and lecture sessions in India and abroad. His focus, wherever he goes, is on making the art of cinema more accessible. So, with such luminaries of people in the panel and the chair, I won't stand between you and them. I would request Professor Maharishi to kindly take the chair and recite the session.
Distinguished and eminent scholars, Professor Rajeev Lochan, Professor Sandeep Chatterjee, and Mr. Stefan Blaeske, who was with me in a session just before this. Well, unfortunately, I have almost completely missed the first and second sessions. Otherwise, I would have been more enlightened. I have been doing theatre, writing for theatre, original plays, as well as many translations, adaptations. For last 50 years, I have been working in theatre. It is because I could do nothing else. I know nothing else except making theatre. If there are any takers or buyers, I'm ready to be there, to make theatre. I don't know of any other thing that I could have done. In the last session, I saw some eminent people discussing narrative, trying to dissect it, trying to understand what a narrative is. It was a little bit difficult to follow for me because I had just come for last 5 minutes or so. But I am sure with these distinguished speakers and this wonderful audience, we will be able to have new insight into this problem of narrative. So with these small words, I happily invite Rajeev Lochan to give his presentation. Rajeev Lochan.
एक गिलास पानी मिलेगा? Mohan Maharishi ji, can you hear me? Mohan Maharishi ji, distinguished guests, friends, I'm indeed very excited about being here and talking about the verbal and non-verbal. My role essentially being the non-verbal, being an artist, having been in the institution. And unfortunately, this bout of viral which has kind of taken away most of my enthusiasm, I shall try to see what I can compound. Because as an artist, one is interested in both. And I come from a family of artists, and while you were talking, I was reminded of a very interesting. My father was an old-time student of some of the stalwarts of this country. And when I would go back home and try and tell him what I was doing in the context of my painting, he would turn around to me and say, an expression which needs an expression to explain that expression is that bloody expression. It's no expression. Don't make cock and bull stories. That's what K.G. Subramanian, this great stalwart. So I, all my life, have caught between the word, which I love using, only in trying to understand the larger meaning of the number. Let's see like this. And I debated because I thought that since I was running viral, maybe it'd be easier if I show you a whole set of images that talk silently. And then try me to intervene wherever I so desire to tell you my interpretation. I don't care what your interpretation is. Because I firmly believe ideas can be hypothetical. And they need to be governed by their own being, by their own logic to formulate their own meaning. That's it, promise. I'm ready to argue with you if I have the energy left. But then it's all about freedom. It's all about freedom of expression. I also believe fantasy is the basis of all hypotheses. As much applicable to science as it is to art. Because creativity is the common denominator. It's about that kira. Allow me to use India, I'm trying to translate it somewhere. It's that worm inside you. That worm embedded that we talked about. I think you had mentioned about the idea and the concept. It's a very agile one. Sometimes it gives you hints and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it comes out spontaneously and sometimes you try hard to get it out and the damn thing doesn't come out. Anyway, it's a struggle. It's a struggle to life. We're all struggling, we continue to struggle. I also believe in this wonderful quote by no other than Marcel Proust said, each one of us is similar and dissimilar to each one of us. As many as there are eyes and minds that awaken every morning. Now my addition, the role of a creator is to provide an image to it. Our observations are not mere passive records. And mine, I also believe, but what you have is what you have. And that's what you have. Nothing else, nothing more, nothing less. Can I have a glass of water? I need it because I'm already sweating.
Yeah.
Therefore, I think it was an intelligent choice that I have a whole set of about 60, 70 slides from Indian artists, from prehistory. Many of them that you have known, many of them you may have not known. And I take that course. When I was telling Para, he didn't send me slides of Rebecca Hall and Fluxus, the two exhibitions that I had organized. To be able to add to this, I'm also happy to share with you that I'll take you through this code right unto the Rax Media and Dumtide. I've had the great privilege of working with Dumtide, and I've liked the founder member of the group, and I'll show you some astounding examples of the early works of Dumtide. Non-verbal. The word only supports the entire process. Of course, I like talking, so I will talk and interject as and when where possible. इसको जरा बड़ा करेंगे. Before, in fact, I was asked to send the synopsis of mine, which I did only yesterday. I don't know whether, and I would like to read that.
You want the image to be large?
Yeah, it has to be large. Otherwise, there is no point of it. Okay, I'll talk in the meantime. The image and the word have innate capacity to transcend beyond common experience and logic to portray those realms of expression which are only accessible to the finer aspects of experience at the instinctive and intuitive level. I wrote this last evening and sent it. The non-verbal and the verbal, as per the appropriate utilization, creates an orchestration of concepts, ideas and experiences, both at the emotive, psychological as well as the intellectual level, weaving various strategies to create the overall perceptive experience. It is interesting how the image sands the word. Yeah. It is interesting how the image sands the word, and enables the onlooker to delve deeper into the experiential mode in the entire evolution of creative expression, both in the visual as well as the literary context. The engagement today is essentially to chart a selective course from this pantheon with some unique facets of creative expression as part of our evolution and enumerate their strengths and strategies that have culminated in some outstanding creative expressions. It's a long journey with diverse modes of creative expression, unique in their context, from prehistory until some current cutting-edge strategies that have evolved as notable facets of the expression in the visual as well as the literary arts. Articulating the verbal and the non-verbal. I call it in the seeds of time. It's time. And these are visuals that elaborate upon the whole context and time. Of course, it's impossible to show you all what is possible. Some interesting facets.
You tell me when you need to change it.
Yeah, well, thank you so very much. Did the prehistoric man? I raise questions, I answer very few. The reason being that my answer is my answer and your answer shall be yours, and there's no reason why my answer should be your answer. Did this prehistoric man ever desire to be a painter? What was he painting for? What was he trying to narrate? Suppose you wish to say that the terrain that you live in is extremely hostile. The animal that you're trying to hunt which will help you to survive. The next 2 months is extremely ferocious. Remember to be agile. Remember to be that the only susceptible spots are the forehead and the neck. If you manage to kill him, you have the ball. If you don't, be prepared to lose your life. These are my words. These are my narratives. I was only trying to infer what he tried to do. He didn't want to be a painter. He used this non-verbal, powerful language. And I tried to articulate it through words which are approximations of what they experience. Next, please. Next, my friend. Chatterjee. No. I like telling stories. When Sir Herbert Reed mounted the first exhibition of child art, he called some of the top artists in the world. Because the relevance of prehistoric art, the relevance of child art, was completely redundant. You are able to, oh, that art that children do, what is there in it? And he invited Picasso. Picasso came in. And he did not even notice Herbert Reed. He was so engrossed looking at the works. And you could see that most of Picasso's works are all inspired by African art and other forms. And then Herbert Reed nudged Picasso and asked him, what do you think? And what a brilliant answer. That sums it up. I could paint like Raphael when I was a child. But it took me a whole lifetime to paint like them. Next, please. Yeah. I think the unfortunate part is that we try to understand works. And I don't think there is any need to understand works. It is most important to be able to experience a work. And I think that is what binds both the experience. Next, please. Yeah, that's important. David. Epitome of reality. You pick up from Greek terms. The culmination of physicality as opposed to the culmination of spirituality in our context. Next slide, please. Yes, epitome of spirituality, Abhaya. Do not fear. Now I'd like to go back here. Vishnu Dharmottara Puran, Chitra Sutra. And raise a question. How many hundred years did it actually take for the first image of Buddha, an iconographic image of Buddha, to evolve? Around 500 years. Why? What the hell were the artists and the conceptualizers doing? They were working on texts. Vishnu Dharmottara Puran, Chitra Sutra, how would the eyes be like? Finding similes for pictorial representation of that iconic representation. Yeah. The verbal and the non-verbal. Now I'm trying to establish my premise. Yeah. And because I am from India, so obviously I would like to bank upon and share some of those societies that I look at. Although I headed the National Gallery of Modern Art, I always said, how can modern or contemporary be devoid of tradition? Because it's a continuum. It is what grows from here, integrated, and the relevance of modernity is contextual to the land that you live in. It is not that you wear Western glasses and say that is Western and that is European and this is modern. The relevance of modernity is, although we also argue the universality of modernity. That's the later question. But I think it's important to understand. If I use four lines, Jahi, Anadi, Ananta, Akhanda, Acheda, Abheda, Suveda, Batave, Tahi, Ahiri, Kichohari, Yanchachiya, Varchach, Pinach, imagine Lord Krishna, the playful God. Jahi, Anadi, what does Anadi mean? Endless. Anand, Akhand, monumental, Ached, who cannot be penetrated, whose values and whose virtuosity cannot be truly understood. And Akhand, Ached, cannot be penetrated. Abhed, jinke bhed, the variety of the interpretations cannot be truly understood. Suvedvata, as is described in the text. Batave, Tahi, Ahiri, Kichohari, Chachiya, Varchachval. And he's so simple and playful and spontaneous. It's got spontaneity. It's got that subtle lucidity that theatre equally talks about, and so does art, and so does film. And we'll eventually come back to film, culminating. So it's that. And who's so simple and supple that simple little girls with little katoris, little bowls are able to playfully maneuver this monumental giant. See, and you're imagining. Has anyone seen Shiva? Has anyone seen Ram? No, it's conceptualization of what you perceive that phenomena to be. And that is what Indian art is all about. That is what. And interestingly, it's funny, we're talking about artistry. I made a statement in the afternoon when we were having lunch. Inference, how history is inferred. The funny and the interesting thing is that iconography and these texts were common to both so-called Brahminical, Jaina and Buddhist. Therefore, the iconography is similar. And the best works of Buddhist art have actually never happened during Buddhist times. Best works of Jain art have never happened during Buddhist times. And what is this word called Brahminical? These are words only coined for our convenience. And I think let's keep them at the back of our mind and only come to it. That's the point I wish to make. It's about drawing the essence. Because narrative, verbal, and non-verbal. Next slide, please. Yeah. And what a confluence. I'm sorry, this title is wrong. Not Gandharva, it is Gandhara. How the Western and the Far Eastern and the Indian sensibility come together to create this image of Buddha. And to me, let me tell you, as an artist, the narrative and this thing is dominated by the pictorial language, the language of expression that you evolve conceptually. It is that dictates Next, please. Yeah, miniature. Now, try to analyze. With Western eye, always said, oh, miniature painting, it doesn't look real, what is this, outdated. There's a very fine book by Parthomita that writes about much maligned monsters. Its title is Much Maligned Monster. All Indian gods, all Indian goddesses are monstrous. But then monstrous, but it's in our blood, it's in our system. Mythification of reality, that's what we have grown with. And this iconography has grown from the conceptual framework of the narrative. That's the point I wish to make. Now, if I had to say, forget this painting, if I had to say that a crow picks up a morsel of bread from the proceedings of the National School of Drama, decides to go around wandering in Mandi House, enters the gate where the guard says stop, comes out and wants to join us in this conference, is it possible in realistic art? It's not, but in miniature it is. Because the narrative dictates the image. And the layering and the structure of the form is all based on the orchestrization of what the concept tries to portray and depict. So there are ways, and mind you, that can also be one kind of abstraction, by the way. And not that this Western concept of abstraction is what we need to wear as glasses. Next, please. Now, what a fab! I love this work. This is Queen and King Edward during Company period. Now imagine the miniature painter now is made to face the European audience that doesn't relate to this mythification of reality and iconography, and he wishes to be portrayed like used to be during that time. See, the portrait is realistic, the rest of it is all confluence. And that's the reason why I say the visual language. And I chose to use this. And sometimes I feel it is ridiculous to try and describe things that are visually experienced the most, but then we need to kind of have this. Next, please. Hamza Nama, Dastane Hamza, complete narrative, complete story, picturization. And when we were talking at lunch in the Udyanji, I was thinking about, Babar Nama, Hamza Nama. I think it was all politically motivated and interpreted. You know what needs to be focused, how, etc., etc. Yeah. What needs to be emphasized? And you see Jahangir with the hello at the back. What is that? Next. Yeah, coming in the British to the kettle dancers, the Nautch girls. Now, very interestingly, visual language and pictorial language, the Western painters had never experienced light to be so luminous in India. That India was so colorful here. So the entire representation of reality is all browns and yellows of the pale kind. Next, please. Yeah. Now I wanted to compare this with Renault's Bosch. Yeah. See. Now, is this orchestrization of space, which is like, in a way, close to miniature painting? Except that I call miniature painting more conceptual. Although the meaning and definition of the word conceptual is very different by Western standards. Next, please. Yeah, Leonardo. Story. Narrative. And India is the most fertile ground for the confluence of both these European academicism and conceptualism. Next, please. Yes, William Blake. In fact, this was an area of my great interest in my master's thesis. William Blake, Flight of Exuberance, because my work was elements of fantasy in contemporary Indian art. The moment there was any element of fantasy which had some imagination, people would call it surreal. India had never experienced the surreal. India had never, so for that matter, would our Kali be surreal? For any of our gods and goddesses. So I had to set up a complete logic and see what happened in this transformation, what were the trends in film, what were the trends in literature, what were the trends in poetry, what were the trends in, and how all this influenced the Indian sensibility. Next. Yeah, I love this work, Abhinanad Tagore. Very sensitive work called The Journey's End. Next. Please tell me when my time is over. I can. Yeah. One of our most outstanding artists who was trained in the Western idiom, the Brahmacharis, Amrita Shergill, studied in Paris. Next. Rabindranath Tagore. I purposely picked up this work. Caricature, humor, and satire. Yeah, here's a whole series. Rabindranath, to my mind, was the most enlightened. Next. Tagore.
How much time is to be given to one speaker?
In fact, we've all heard of Ocampo, who actually motivated Rabindranath Tagore to paint at the ripe age of 60 plus. And Tagore did a whole series of portraits and caricatures. And my interpretation, because I organized 11 exhibitions of Rabindranath Tagore all over the world. And to me, this is a portrait of Ocampo. It is not trying to portray the physical portrait of Ocampo, but it is about the personality of Ocampo, who was a great poetess from Argentina. And there are caricatures, and I always interpret it as that what he could not say in words, mind me please, what he could not say in words is what he brought out in caricature about people that he wanted to be nice to. Next please. Yeah, Jamini Roy. See the whole, to me, this is how I see the narrative. Coming in from life, going back to life. Next. This again Ram Kinkar Badge, a portrait of Tagore. Next. This is only, I have made this selection as cross-referencing, trying to see how the visual language, this is called the tree lover. Next. Yeah. How Tantra inspired artists. Again, the word and the image. Next. Yes. Old Man in the Red. The grand old man of art. Now it's so descriptive. It is so descriptive. I mean, we can't actually see a parrot reciting out to him. Bhavesh Sanyal. Parrot reciting out in the ear. I'm almost reminded of Jaisi, the poet, Hiraman Tota and Malik Muhammad Jaisi, and Raja Ratan Sen. And this Hiraman Tota is all the time, describing the beauty of this beauteous Hermes called as synonymous of God. Next. Next, please. Yeah. I purposely put Satish Gujral. This is his most powerful period, the partition. The agony of partition, despair. Most. And mind you can also compare this because he went to Mexico and and studied under Orozco and Siqueiros. I'm coming down to politics. Next. Yeah, this is Rasa. Shunya, nothingness, Bindu, that encapsulates everything. Nothingness is not nothing, it is everything. Next. Yes, Hussain. Again, the narrative, no literature. Next. Ara. Actually, it spells life. It's like a still from a film. Next. Avinash Chandra. These are all some of those landmark works which have evolved in our country as part of creating their own language. Next. Sousa. Francis Newton Sousa, reinterpreting mythological sequences, the Christian mythological sequences. Next. Paradosya. Next. Malwa Nights. K.G. Subramanian, my own professor, who told me as I started with, don't make cock and bull stories. Know exactly what you wish to say and find the way you wish to see it, to realize. Next. Krishnakanta. Bandwala. How a very simple bandwala out on the streets can be a very serious philosophical mode of expression that gives deeper insight into the plight, human condition, etc., etc. So, in other words, I'm addressing all these intellectual, psychological, emotive modes of expression. Next. Tayam Mehta, Shantiniketan triptych. And mind you, when I'm purposely showing this word, because in Shantiniketan, Ramkinkar Bed, Rabindranath Tagore, they all, including Vinod Bihari Mukherjee, they designed painted sets for theatre. I thought I would mention this here. How art, as a visual sensibility, takes over, completely transforms. This can be a wonderful backdrop for a next. Anjali Lavani. Next. Ghulam Muhammad Sheikh. I am witness because I was there. The topographical. Now see a takeoff from folk art, child art, miniature painting, color, this, that. And the real experienced narrative, the lived narrative. Meghdut was the name of the building where I used to stay. Next. This is another painting. I can go on and talk about, but I think what I'm more interested in right now is to establish the premise and the latitude. Next. Yeah, Bhupen Thakkar, Man with a Bouquet of Flowers. In fact, I've just recently curated an exhibition of 128 works of Bhupen Thakkar. How this man observed everyday reality and made that narrative of the everyday, as a theme of his creative expression. Next. This is again Mohan. Gay. How he sees the world. Next. Swami. Bimb Pratibimb. How would one translate that, Bimb Pratibimb? Udyanji? Reflection and counter-reflection.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Next. Jahangir Sarwar, metaphysical. Trapped lakes. Metaphor. My aim right now is essentially to give you a hint into the narrative and let you experience the way. Next. A. Ramachandran. He draws essentially from, he also draws essentially from the iconography and the lived experience. Next. Vikash Bhattacharya. Fantasization of reality, the experienced reality. Next. Manjeet Baba, Krishna and the The eternal player. Drawn from Indian mythology back to. Next. Paramjit Singh, the metaphysical path. Next. Arpita Singh. It's so wonderful. Arpita's paintings again draw from the everyday experience story that happens in life. The narrative. So that's why I say it doesn't matter. I always believe in this. It doesn't matter where you buy your chicken from. What matters is what is it that you do to it or with it. At the end of the day, it's the taste. And I think that's the crux of my thesis. Next. So what Gupta, whose exhibition again I had organized. This is called Dada, the eternal tree. Next. Rux Media. I'm very proud of my students. And and as I said, along with them, I would have loved to show you images of Rebecca Horn and Fluxus and many others, but it's not about trying to show you that all this is available on the net. And then I'll read a small little piece on Rux, on time, which has its own narrative. And in fact, I was lucky, I just got a catalog from them, a recent one 3 days ago. I would browse through it and say, hey, that fits in so well. Okay. In Rux Media's collective recent publication, Twilight Language, Theodore Ringberg, in his article, Just Time, enumerates, around 7 years had passed since I buried a time capsule that Rux Media Collective filled with things that things had to do with, as later encountered. The state of play between the ways in which the collective inhabits and interprets the past and faces the future. None but they know exactly what these things are. The capsule is intended to be re-earthed into 2061 and its contents exhibited alongside objects from other artists' stamp capsules that I buried. Perhaps you will see why, given that Rux put forward in this practice are not only time but a debt of labor and waiting rooms and the cherished conversation on time that one has embarked in anticipation of their capsule. I quote, I am here taken to try to expound some thoughts regarding my friend because time in prison is of essence. Unquote. Rux. Next. Well, this is, I purposely wanted to end with Tongue Tied because it was in the year 80s, when I was in Japan. I went to Japan and my wife is Japanese and my wife is a founder member of this group called Tongue Tied. So she left that and came to India and spends time as a painter. But I have observed very closely the transformation of Tongue Tied that incorporates all the elements that we have just described into one. That is what today's experimental exercises, both in terms of theatre, practice, performance, and art, are all about. Actually, that's my wife's work in 1985. Yeah. The artist collective Tongue Tied was formed in 1984 by a group of students from different departments of Kyoto City University of Arts, Japan, rejecting any influence of the Japanese art movements of the time. Tongue Tied, a collective group, as described by one of their founder members, Teiji Furuhashi. Teiji Furuhashi unfortunately died of AIDS. Earliest intention was self-expression in any form. The group went on to create a new idiom, but of a fusion of art, dance, music, performance, and theatre. And did not shy away from the politics, unlike the traditional Japanese art forms. Tongue Tied's unique productions, high on technology, found an audience and acclaim outside Japan from the 90s onwards. Experimentation with many existing media, new technologies, has been an article of faith for Tongue Tied. Can we go to the next slide, please? Okay, let's see the slides, and then I will sum it up. Yeah. This is all the performance. It was called tongue-tied because it was non-verbal. So that's what I wanted to end. No role of the word. Music, there, that, no. Next. Next. I wish I could bring you, I have a lot, but I would, since I had asked how much time do I have, I was told I have about 30 minutes or so. Otherwise I would have brought you a number of, cassettes to be able to show, the VHS cassettes which we have transformed, to be able to show you the entire evolution of tongue type. Next. That is Text Furuhashi sitting there. I'm witness to all this with my own eyes. Next. Next. This would have been banned in India, no? The dog is there. Next. 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 Thank you. Just sum it up. Sorry. Thank God. Experimentation with many existing media and new technologies has been an article of faith for some time. To such an extent that one project can appear in various forms of representation, including performance, installation, printed materials, and other possible inputs. Flexibility. The evolving process of work in progress. Work in progress nature of their art practice is consistently reflected even in their day-to-day experimental matters. With very few projects, the entire team is reshuffled, a new director, and mind you, the director is not the boss. The director is not the boss. It's contributory. Matter. With every new project, the entire team is reshuffled, the new director and staff are appointed from among the members following a series of discussions. As their projects move beyond the college premises onto international stage, Tongue-Tied has actively sought collaborations with international professionals. A host of artists have been the members of Tongue-Tied, including Shiro Takatani, Tadashi Takamai, Ryoji Ikeda, Takao Kawaguchi. Many Tongue-Tied members have their own individual art practices, yet some are still engaged in Tongue-Tied productions. Their works are focused on a wide range of issues. Now that's what I want to do. The relationship between body and space, consumerism, sexuality and identity, life and death. These are integrated with strong visuals and high technology. Their social and political awareness further sharpened Furuhashi's infected HIV positive. Is coming out in 92, strongly influenced the performance SN 1994, which became one of the earliest art practices focused on identity and politics of HIV and AIDS. Even after Furuhashi's death of an AIDS-related illness in 1995, Tongue-Tied actively updates its members and evolved ever new creative strategies. I'm confident that the purpose and reason for taking you through this wide pantheon of images culminating into the kind of openness with which we need to address our creative efforts, I made my point. I can again reiterate and end. It's not where you buy your chicken from. What matters is how do you How do you do with what you do with it, and what does the taste at the end works out to be. Thank you very much for this patience.
Thank you, Professor Rajeev Lochan. It was a very strong presentation. Showed us the journey of an artist and the influences on him and what those influences actually caused him to do things that he did. Rajeev Lochan is one of the foremost painters of this country, and we are proud of his work. Well, could you see the possibility of words, what words are doing, what the textual narrative is doing to the visual narrative? ताहे अहीर की छोहरिया छचिया बर छाछ पे नाच नचा. Beautiful. If this could be an inspiration for a painting, it would be wonderful. And that is what Rajeev Lochan was able to show us. Thank you, Rajeev. And now I have on my list Mr. Sandeep Chatterjee of the... Stefan, are you ready?
Now what's the head?
Oh, you need the key.
Yes, some technician there, please.
Would like to come in?
It's too bad.
I can move back.
No, it's fine. But we have to run out, I guess, use. And do you have power? Like sort of electricity?
Yeah, I'm sure they will.
Are you organized? Can we start with you?
If you're ready.
He's ready,
He's ready, so we can.
so he can start.
Yeah,
In the
yeah.
meantime, you can fix it.
So just your name was, say, second, so I thought maybe we should start. I can start.
Yeah, cool. No, then we keep to the original.
Yeah.
Namaskar, everybody. I'm very sorry, I must apologize. In the beginning, I missed the morning session. I was very unwell. It was probably my body reacting to the forced vegetarianism which Air India kind of took on me last night. And I somehow felt very severely ill. So please excuse me if I, in the course of this small talk, if I burp or then throw up, please be sure that's not a performance, This is just an objective truth, a reality. I would like to begin on today's topic by evoking, two of my most influential artists, who have helped me grow up and who have helped me to sustain myself in a way. I would like to read a small poem. This is by Jivanananda Das. I've done a film on a story by him, but I thought, I think what I'm trying to say this little poem will make some sense. I will read it twice. Though it's I think it's a very clear, it's a poem which has got clarity. This poem is called A Strange Darkness. In this strange darkness descended upon the day, the finest vision belongs to the blind. The world is led by the counsel of loveless, pitiless ghosts. And upon the hearts of those that yet believe in light, in the undying flame of man's enduring quest, hyenas and vultures feast. I'll read it once more. In this strange darkness descended upon the day, the finest vision belongs to the blind. The world is led by the counsel of loveless, pitiless ghosts. And upon the hearts of those that yet believe in light, in the undying flame of man's enduring quest, hyenas and vultures feast. I think this idea of darkness is essentially, for me, it's essentially about the 20th century, the later part of which we have grown up. And it has always troubled me, I have always had to deal with this idea of darkness, which is also expressed in Rabindranath Tagore's essay. I felt somewhere, because I'm a teacher and I teach students in a film school, I always have to define at some point, students to make things simple, to go towards something which has more clarity. I have to find a way to tell that, what is the work that you are doing, what is the purpose, why you are telling a story, or what is the story for that matter. And somewhere I feel we need to tell stories to throw a little bit of light, on this strange darkness that has befallen us. And it is from that purpose that I think through ages, the Film Institute was made in 1960, that a generation of teachers have probably been telling their students that you need to come up with something new. You need to tell new stories, more so because you are kind of subsidized by the government of India and you have a privilege. So you have a kind of a burden on your shoulder and you have to do something meaningful. You have to come up with some new stories. You have to throw light on new mediums. This kind of thing have always been trying to tell students when they first come into the institute, trying to make them aware of their responsibilities. So when I will continue with this idea of forgiveness eventually. I would like to mention Niti Bhagat also over here. Niti Bhagat is a very, I don't know if everybody here knows her of Bhagat. He's a very influential filmmaker from India who made films during post-independence. And one of his films, like a film called Shubharta Rekha, which is like a magnum opus. You see this line where the main character, Mohan, she says that, she tells her elder brother, where is my new house? Where is our new house? And it's a continuous search for that new house. And that same question comes down at the end of the film. It's a kind of a film in a epic form. So it comes down at the end of the film to when this lady's little child, Beanu, asks his mama, who is the same man who was the elder brother of his mother, the same question that, where is the new house? I'm sorry. And how to find it? Where do we find it? And I think it's not just about India, but all over 20th century, we have been trying to find this. It's either a new house or a new story, and it has always been going like that. And it's a very elusive thing. We've never been able to find that the new home or the new story also, I think, which we are continuously trying to see. But saying that, when every time, students, they come up with their versions of new films or new stories which has influenced them. I'm talking about the current times. And when we say that we look for something new, we face a major challenge there. The moment they come up and say that, these are the new films that we have, that we are influenced by, and this is the kind of newness in contemporary Indian cinema, which really kind of attracts us. And when I encounter with that kind of newness in these, which the students are influenced by, and I kind of feel a kind of revulsion because of reasons which I will tell you, I'll try to elaborate in brief. I can take a list of some films. I'm not a traditional academic that way. I can say what I'm highlighting here. There is a sense of falseness in these films. There is a sense of stereotyping and a kind of sensationalism which is associated with all these films, which seems to be working with new ideas. So one tends to tell the students that, so don't go for this kind of, don't go for newness for that matter, go towards the old, look for the old. Maybe we can only find the new through the old. That has been my experience also, my personal experience too. I've always hit upon something new that I associate with and I'm comfortable with. Only when I dig a little deeper, I look at the old and I look at history. Maybe I always find that route of finding newness more appropriate. To name some of these films which our contemporary students are attracted to and which with a lot of caution and difficulty we try to highlight things that where, what is exactly lacking there. I won't show that film here. This is just a test case. I'm just mentioning something, and I don't mean any kind of offense to the people who have made films. I mean, they're very, very popular films in YouTube. I suppose this particular short film has got millions and millions of how many hits, and they're popular, and a lot of people like them actually. So I run a risk when I kind of counter it. This film is called the name of the film is Chutney. I don't know if you are acquainted with this film. So Chutney, I won't get into the details of the film. You can maybe after this also later in the evening, you can find it on YouTube and you can just see it. It's interesting to know what I'm talking about. Chutney is, as the name suggests, and there is a kind of brand of film in our times where the reality is being used almost like, like tomato ketchup, like something that is to reality is to be liberally sprinkled on your product, to make it more quote-unquote artistic or quote-unquote meaningful or quote-unquote serious cinema. Chutney, I found kind of ideal example of that. Because there is no sense of compassion in that film. The film, the kind of stereotypes, particularly a place like hell. So it's set in Delhi, it's set in an area called Rajeev, and it stereotypes Rajeev. It is very probably a very unique story, and uniqueness in the character or the characters who live in Rajeev. It seems Rajeev is full of unique people, but with that kind of stereotyping, and there are murders happening there, you almost kind of tend to assume that no such people you will find in Greater Kailash, for example, which is another area of South Delhi. You won't find that kind of thing in Greater Kailash. So, on one hand, there is a kind of newness or a kind of certain reality or a kind of common people or a regular people from regular life with a severe dose of uniqueness we are encountering in films like these. But we are at the same time, it is somewhere different. It is somewhere different from the bad old, what was the bad old commercial cinema of India. When we grew up, we were told, like, don't look at these films. There are better films. There is parallel cinema. So don't look at these kind of bad old commercial films. I'm saying bad and old because it comes from the 70s or 80s also. But after that, commercial film in one way, according to me, ceased. And through 90s, what came up was Bollywood. And it's a misnomer. Even if you do a Google search, even Google will show you Bollywood films from 1930s or 1940s. So according to Google or so many other, maybe I don't know which other universities, probably from Shantaram to Phalke to Buddha, everybody is Bollywood. Which is, I think, completely a misnomer. Bollywood, if one needs to really seriously look into it. I'm aware of it, but I'm not put real research into it. But I know for certain that Bollywood is a coinage which happens primarily around the early 90s, when a certain kind of changeover happens. With the 90s, I say that also because I happened to have passed out of the film school in 1990, and I got into a world which suddenly everything changed. I suppose how from 89 to 90 things suddenly changed. And so with Bollywood, slowly, and you can now see that phenomenon all across the world. I'm focusing on Bollywood, that everything that was bad and commercial or before is somehow left out. And what we focus on, it is a kind of very savvy kind of storytelling, and you try to see you're including a lot of taboo topics, or which were earlier taboo, or which is like which were not seen earlier, that kind of stories. Or you're seeing a degree of reality also maybe on it with films like these. Some other films, as an example, I could mention a film called Lunchbox, which is made with a foreign producer, or even a film like Titli, which one of my ex-students had made, again set in Ghaziabad, and an example of horrible stereotyping of Ghaziabad. So, on one hand, it's not through the 90s that something new or a kind of loosening up, a kind of wider acceptance or a look at reality is as if happening through a lot of these films. And of course, beyond 90s, there was no parallel cinema as such. That activity also, the government stopped supporting. when it's only later after 2000 that is revised or revised again in a particular way, and which brings out this brand of realism in Indian cinema. So, of course, there is a need for the new and a kind of new narrative to find it. But are we coming up with that? Or if we are not coming up with that, why is that so? I think one of the reasons why is that so is with the coinage of Bollywood or the birth of Bollywood, what also happens is the traditional film industries in Bombay, I'm just taking Bombay as it is, I think it happens everywhere else. The advertisement industry, I think, takes over the film industry. According to me, that's largely what happens, and that has ramifications. So you try to, it's a complete kind of branding or product, that starts happening, through the 90s and through the beginning of Bollywood era. I suppose you are aware of how generally a kind of factory mode of filmmaking or the old capitalist mode of production slowly dies down through 90s too, and how we see brands coming up, and which is an idea to be sold. So companies like Nike never say that I'm making shoes. I'm only promoting an idea. I'm making what I'm doing. I'm creating an idea. So you start seeing creation of ideas. Creation is a word which starts getting into hand in love with branding and other such activities. A short comparison, if you do with the bad old commercial films and the kind of smart, sleek Bollywood films, you will see that there's the kind of space that you share, the kind of variety. It's a simple thing, like the variety of faces that you saw in say a Mohan Desai, like a bad commercial film, or quote unquote bad commercial film, say like Apna Desh or something like Roti, say for example. The kind of variety of faces that you will see, the kind of variety of things that you will see, that is kind of shot in. You see very chosen kind of faces. There is the sameness in them. There is the sameness in the kind of language, the kind of English that slowly Salman Khan and others start speaking. Which is like we are all saying, great. That's the greatness of globalization. So we lose out on specificity. Also, on one hand, we are losing out on certain specificities. On one hand, we are losing out on the kind of variety of representation that was there on the screen. And on the other hand, another kind of specificity is being brought to make the story more attractive, to give a certain uniqueness to the story. Now, in this scenario, you will also see, apart from the world of cinema too, that in case of politicians or big corporate bosses, they stopped using, like, earlier there were cases, you're dealing with a case, so they start, this coinage also comes, I think, maybe around the same time, that you're working with narratives, The narrative becomes a term which is used by politicians as well as by corporate heads or companies, saying that we are searching for a narrative. I will refer to a little bit over here from in my search of how I can teach better or how I can teach appropriately. This whole thing about what is a story and how to find new stories. It's difficult to find answers to me. That Rajeev also pointed out. But I have to look for answers because that's my job. I have to bring in some clarity for the students. I found this kind of a lecture that Nobel laureate, very known author James Quincy gave at the World Literature Festival Salon in Norwich in UK. It is available in 2012, I think it happened. It is available on YouTube. You can have a look later. So he also talks about, how he mentions in that article about an Australian company called SBS, how they said that they have 7 or 6 billion stories and counting. So you see, they are coming up. There are so many new stories coming up through companies like these, through news companies like these, and there is also a story. There is also a newness in it, and every day there are so many stories apparently around us. So that is also, what he's pointing at, which is starting, I think, around the same time. I will read a little bit from there because he highlights some very important points here regarding a story and regarding newness. He mentions a very simple thing like to tell a story, what are you dealing with? Are you dealing with truth or are you dealing with a lie or falsehood? Like the understanding of the word story earlier was always like, like Tommy, you are telling stories again? मैं कहानी बोल रहा हूँ, कहानी बता रहा हूँ, कहानी बना रहा हूँ, kind of concocting stories. So the story, the association with the story was always a kind of lie. Somehow with this era that we are living in, there is an overdose of truth, and there are so many truths, and everybody is coming up with truth. There is so much of predominance of subjective truth over objective truths, and so I have my truth, and you have your truth, and he has a truth, and there is a surge of truth suddenly, and there is no, on one hand, to be losing a kind of there's an errand of common truth which is probably going missing, or objective truth, which maybe science sometimes, highlights or foregrounds in a certain way. So, I will just refer to one part from here, where he says, I read it. I read it from here. So he is talking about these prototypes. So he is saying that be it a Bangladeshi rice farmer or a Moldovan sex worker, there is a typicality of their lives, so a kind of universal aspect. So when you are representing them, somewhere you have to highlight that typicality or go by that typicality. But at the same time, he is asking a question, do they also have some specificity? Is every Bangladeshi rice farmer equal to the other Bangladeshi rice farmer? So no matter how closely the life of one Bangladeshi rice farmer may from the outside resemble the life of another Bangladeshi rice farmer, each life is felt by its subject to be uniquely his own. This claim amounts to less than saying that each of us, man and dog, is master of our story, master of our fate. But it amounts to more than saying that we are born into a life which we will blindly live out. It is the space between these two positions, being the master of a life and being the vehicle of a life, that I am touching on here. So it's either that मैं अपना कहानी बना रहा हूँ, I am kind of the author of my own life story, or I'm just usual. I'm born with a certain type, and that is my life story. I'm going along with that. So he asked an important question here: that what is it to have a life? Is there a difference between saying every dog has a life and saying every human being has a life? Because is it only human beings who have a life story? Does a dog have a life story too? Does a barnacle have a life story too? Barnacle is like a thing which unloads the rocks in front. That's also a life form. Does it have a life story too? Or there are some life stories which are unique and rest are all mundane. So the problem that we face when we send our students to go and find subjects, for a documentary or to look for stories is that where do you look for it? There has to be some unique point. And of course, you're looking at Bombay, or you're looking at the lure of saying doing something significant and having a good life and making some money. So obviously, it is about finding something unique. Or is it so that we are surrounded with all kinds of mundanities, and maybe each one of it has a story. Each one of it is beautiful. But we are continuously somewhere the dichotomy that we are facing is that either we go for a specific beauty or a specific story or something, or we look at mundanities and try to train ourselves maybe in a way to find stories, because actually everything has a story and everything has a potential beauty. In art or in cinema for that matter, this whole potential to show beauty and to tell a unique story, how do we deal with that? That's the question. And that question very, very aptly, I like this. I refer to this also in the course of my classes. I think poetry very beautifully highlights that point. So, what is the difference in the case of, so he says that the second query is that what is the difference in the case of human beings between having a life and having a life story? In particular, what cultural assumptions might I be making when I say I have a life story and it is my own? This later question is asked because among the 7 billion or whatever billion of us, there are some who see it as no source of pride or self-validation to be told that their life stories are unique, different from those of their neighbors. They would rather say that I live in a society and my life is just a typical life. There is no uniqueness in my life. So, the story of one particular man or one particular woman, whether it is a Bangladeshi rice worker, or rice farmer, or a Moldovan sex worker for that matter, the story goes, that is, the stories of others become meaningful and relevant to us by a process of sympathetic identification. It is not with the farmer as farmer or sex worker as sex worker that you identify. It is with the underlying man or woman, the being with whom we share humanity. If we identify with a stranger, then his story or her story becomes our story. So it is a question of identifying with that human being. So there is this idea of the human being inside all these prototypes. I think that is what seriously in films that I was referring to, the otherwise very popular and very different, which are also known as hatke films in Bombay or Bollywood. Everything is hatke now. So all these films, I think that's where they're going wrong. There's somewhere they create uniqueness, they create very, very kind of typicalities, but they someone impinge and find that human. They can't tap on that human, which is universal, with which you can identify, with which you can go ahead. You can see great performances. Like for example, if you call it great, like Disca Chopra in this film called Chatterjee, she so accurately tries to play the other, but you won't be able to probably identify with that. So,
if you sum up,
I'll just move on to some clippings. I wanted to highlight one more thing. I wanted to speak about my friend Afsar Ahmed. He won the Sahitya Academy Award this year, and he's written about 40 novels and some short stories. And again, going back to students, we have to also I made them identify sometimes that what is an artist like, what is an artist like, because these days we are in an era where everybody is sexy, and you're always, looking at an artist and thinking of an artist, who is, who has a certain gait, who has a certain, elan. It's a kind of aspirational thing, to be an artist. So Afsardar's life I find quite unique there. Afsardar lives in a somewhere. So say for example, Afsardar came to accept his award from the Sahitya Academy. Sahitya Academy was paid him an airfare, and he will go back and he will get down in the airport, and then he will take a bus to go to Chatragachi station, and from Chatragachi he will take a train, the local train, and go to Bagalan, which is a few 100 kilometers, maybe 60 kilometers away. I'm not sure about the distance. He will get down there, his cycle will be parked beside the station, he will take that cycle and he will go home, gradually. So he's erudite, he is capable of becoming a professor in any university or any college, I think. But he chose to write independently, and he somehow lived with, and here he lived with very little money, lives with very little money. He did a very menial, small job in Bangla Academy, Kolkata, a contractual job which pays him 50,000 rupees, maybe at the most. He's retired now. 2 kids and wife, and somehow with the help from his extended family, he managed to build a small house. That's the life he lives. If I tell you about the novel, very brief, what he has written, it's about regular people. It's about people living all around villages around where I stay, and it's about a man who kind of who absconds. I really wish that this is translated someday. He's a man who absconded, who just got lost one day. He used to live in that village too. He was in love, and 4 days before he was going to get married to this woman, he suddenly went missing. And it's after 5-6 years he surfaces again, and the novel begins there. He surfaces again, and the whole novel is just, he's going throughout the village. He is meeting every single family, and they're all typically poor people, they're mundane people, but everyone has their own stories, and he's going and living with them, and he's kind of feeling the warmth of the love and the little existences they have, and at the same time he's extending his help in whatever reason. He's a man who is a do-gooder, so he is extending whatever help he can give. But he's never somehow going to, anticipating, and he's never going to meet his lover, who's got married by now and has a kid. And everybody considers him as like a saintly man, a great man. He's in the meanwhile, he's married, he's also got married, he's found a wife, he has a kid in Bilashpur. And from Bilashpur also, he suddenly disappeared and resurfaced here. And he lives with all these people for a few days, he helps them, he gives them, things. And he shares basically the sadness and happiness with all these commoners. And then again disappears one day, without meeting the lover who was going to be married. So it is a story like that, about common things, about very, very mundane things. And I can't tell you how unique new that is. In this whole landscape, how this story would stand out as a very new story. It lacks all the fashionable in one way. I would like to just one small clipping. I wanted to show two, but I will show you one, and if I get the permission, I will show you the second one, or if you are interested, of trying to locate newness in any way, in a work. If you are trying to locate newness, where to find that newness? I will show you just one 5-minute scene to begin with from this South Asian director called Sani Liang. He's from Taiwan. He made this film called What Time Is It Now? Sometime in the early 2001, 2003 maybe. We just see the first scene of the film. We just see how the film is handled with it's like a small film inside the film sitting there. Even if you don't see the rest of the film, just that much is in the film. There's a story there, there's a narrative there. The whole film begins with the film probably he's going to die. So he is just moving around the room, doing almost nothing, doing little things. He just goes up, brings his plate of food, sits down, then doesn't eat the food. Instead has smokes a cigarette. So how through this little mundane things, how he makes it, the whole scene becomes meaningful in a way, because he's not doing anything very particular, but very regular. So you see how the mundanity works here. A day of a man before he's going to die. DLC name? I just slider is not working properly. The sound is on? There's no sound. Wait, see the sounding again. Let me see the shot. and you see the sun, going with his ashes somewhere. And quickly show you just the other sequence which kind of round it up in the other side of the spectrum, more dramatic approach where you see the very last scene is just a 5-minute, 4-minute scene of, this is a film made by Roman Polanski. It's a classical subject, it's an adaptation of Oliver Twist. And you see how in the last scene, and he kind of adapts it very faithfully otherwise, the film. But still the film makes a little difference. It makes a little difference, it becomes so evident in the last scene, where you see Oliver, who is now again gone back to his foster parent and he's kind of survived the whole thing and he's fine, he said he will have a good life. And he goes to meet Fagin, who was the kind of king of thieves in the prison, and he's going to be hanged the night before he goes to meet him. And the film ends with that. So we just see the scene where Oliver meets him.
You may kill me if you like. Leave up.
Thank you. I wish to go through this.
Yes, sir. Sir.
The young gentleman's come to, sir. It's not a sight for children, sir.
It is not indeed, my friend. This child see this man have a full career as a successful remedy, and it is his wish, even at the cost of some pain and fear, that he should see him now.
Somebody wants to see you. Quickly, please. Be grateful as the time goes on.
You were kind to me.
Yeah. I'll be kind. I'll be kind. I'll be kind.
Shall we say a prayer to them first? Good. Say only one.
I'm going to sit down there. You get me out of the room, you'll cut it off.
God forgive me, Mr. Man.
If God shine temple and be passing out of temple.
Take me.
He won't scream, sir. Nothing more. You better leave him.
Stop me, stop me,
Yeah, please.
My point is that, Polanski, doing a period film like this, and doing a classical, story, dramatic story like this, is so real. It's unreal. As Oliver is growing up, Oliver grows up with such a heavy heart. Oliver grows up with so much compassion. Compassion for a criminal like Fagin. He so subtly highlights that, and I think these are the kind of ideas of newness that we have to connect to. On one hand, the classical, on one hand, from maybe learn lessons from people like Polanski. On the other hand, people like Simon were dealing with absolute mundaneness of life and bringing things out of it. So, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Will you come here?
Yeah. Friends,
Sure.
I made a mistake. I didn't ask you to get into the discussion with either Rajeev Lochan or Sandeep Chatterjee. Now, if you have any specific questions, then please direct them to you. You can talk to any one of them. There are no questions.
Extra activities during the kind of slow pace and
It's okay. It's all right. You did very well. No problem. Are you ready, Stefan Blaeske?
You have to choose another input now.
Right.
This is another cable.
why don't you come here? Would you like to do that?
You had one cable and another one. You don't have to choose another input. I can make it on the USB stick, but normally it's...
Stefan, you can come here if you like.
I think that may be.
So I need some help because I don't have an app.
No problem. Take your time.
Yeah, so normally it would be the time for the session to end, and I have the next meeting, so I feel a bit pressured that I try to still go through everything, but make it more condensed and reach at some moments. Yeah. So after having these two lectures about art history and about movies, I will speak about theater, because that's where I come from and that's what I'm doing. And because I don't know anything else, like you said in the morning session.
Yes, sure.
Yeah, so maybe while the PowerPoint is warming up, the first question, did anybody of you see the show we had yesterday in the theater, like Compassion? Can I refer to that? Okay, only 6, 7 people. This is strange now. So for me the question about different narratives was about the question how we show theater, like I don't know if anybody read the synopsis about the presentation or if it's maybe. Okay, so my topic is about the question, if we show tragedies on stage, how do we do it? Because I mean, theater can be anything, can be comedy, can be music or whatever. But like one of the most important lines in European theater is tragedy, and this is also one we are dealing with. So there's a long tradition to say that you should not show the cruel things, the murder, the massacre, the killings on stage. Like in antique tragedy, it has been like that. So that you have to fit the rule that if something is happening, you only have the messenger who comes and talks about what has happened. Or you have somebody who's watching it over the wall and tells the audience what is happening, but then the audience cannot see it. And mostly they have even the dramaturgy of telling every story 3 times. Like before, saying, oh, I guess this will happen. Then while it was happening, they described it. And afterwards they made a reflection on it. So this was a kind of very word-based narrative storytelling way. So I chose this quotation from the Bible, thou shalt not make any graven image, because in European tradition this is also kind of very strong tradition to say you are not allowed to make a picture of God. I mean, you should, God is just in your imagination, but you don't paint him. You can never show his beauty, his whatever. So there's also this kind of tradition to not show pictures. So there are, like in European tragedy culture, there are these 2 lines. Coming from the theater, you have the rule for the tragedies, not to show the brutal things. Coming from religion, you have the rule to not show God. So when we made this play, Compassion, History of the Machine Gun, of course it was also very much about the question what can we show, and it was a play about the refugee crisis, so the refugee crisis in Europe. And at that time, this picture was in the newspapers and on television everywhere, and there was a big discussion, is it allowed to show it? Because on the one hand, of course, it's a strong symbol for the refugee crisis, and this picture, you got a lot of attention, and you have led people to be empathic and to feel compassion. But on the other hand, you can also say that you are abusing the death of this young boy. you did not ask him to, I mean, would you, if you die, want your picture to be in every newspaper? So there was a big moral discussion, is it allowed to show it or not? And we used this discussion at one stage to talk about this question. So on the one hand, we are always using documentary material, really material taken out of the everyday world. On the other hand, we try to create new experiences for our actors. So we don't just write a play based on documentary material, but we go on, we travel to them, we make research together. So for us it's important that they really make an experience that they can then also express on stage. So we went with the main actors to this place where this boy died. And we went to the refugee camps in Greece, in Turkey, and also in Congo. So, but this is the, coming back to what I just started with our PowerPoint, this is a quotation from the play. So for us, and the main actor says this sentence, theatre for me was a messenger arrives and reports from the horror and cruelty of the world. Describes the battle, detailed only the battle, the massacre. This was theatre for me. Like God. So this is a bit this position. And you have this tool like the dramatic theatre who plays everything and reenacts it, or the, you could say, post-dramatic, pre-dramatic, but the way of storytelling and having a message. So yeah, these are the three possibilities in Greek tragedies. Just told about it without PowerPoint. And then in the end you had like this kind of equivalent, like a platform which was rolled out, and then you saw the corpse. So you never saw the murder on stage, but in the end they presented you the corpse. This is how they did a reenactment of how a tea tragedy was staged originally. So now talking about our own work, we use a bit like both kind of dramaturgies, the one of reenacting events and staging them and showing everything, and the other one is more using the messenger perspective and just telling, making only storytelling. And this is the European trilogy where we only had actors on stage that were talking from their biography. So I started to talk about reenactment, with which Milo Rau, the director I'm working with, became famous. So we started to reenact the last days of the Chatterjees. This maybe it's not known here, but it was a dictator couple in Romania. Romanian dictator couple. And after the fall of the wall, they got a short process and they were executed immediately. So Milo restaged this process against this couple. So on the left side you see the original picture that was broadcasted on television at that time. And on the right side you see our actors playing it. So speaking about images, the first images, if you have historic images, how do you reenact them? For example, the colors are always yellowish because the media at the time, like the television and everything what recorded, it was yellowish. But the original room was white. So even when you make the stage design and for your reenactment, and you try to be very close to what had happened, really reenacting it and playing it again, you have to decide. Do you choose for the white wall, what it was in reality, or do you choose for the more yellowish wall, which looked like the media? So what is your reference? Is it media image, or is it the real event, and what is real? And then you choose some actors that at that time when Chatterjee were in power were the state actors. So they were also really involved in this. For us it's always important that the actors are not just any actors, but that there is a connection between those who perform on stage and the story they are performing. And in this case, actors who have been famous actors during the dictatorship, they played the end of their years. And then of course you always have to frame it, and you have to decide if you make this really reenactment, where does the room start, what's the frame? And of course the interesting thing is that, what I just said, for us it's important that it's this quotation from Milo, that it's not only the original material that we use, which is real, but that there is also a strong real is happening on stage, in the sense of what does it mean if these actors play these roles. I will present for the picture. Okay. So, and then the strange thing with this kind of reenactments is that then in the end you produce pictures of this event, and then they get mixed with the original pictures. So it happened that some newspapers, years later, who wrote about a couple of Ceausescu's, they didn't use the original pictures of the Ceausescu's, but our actors playing it. Because, as you know, I mean, people are just doing bad research in media nowadays, and they just Google the names of the dictators and they use this pictures. So history is also rewritten with that, and you have it in art history, you have, and in theater history, you have, for example, Marina Abramovic, who does it like she's reenacting famous performances, and in that way she's also occupying them. So if we speak about pictures, the second project Mohan was doing was about the genocide in Rwanda, and there he decided to go against the pictures. Because if you have these genocide pictures, I mean, you know them, but how could you show this on stage? So he decided, while Ceausescu was really a remake of the original pictures, this was the opposite, and he decided to make a radio show. So you only heard, it was a really live radio show, and everybody had earphones, like the audience had. Was sitting there hearing that radio show, and then you heard people, and it was a true radio station that was paid by the state, and they were raising the tensions between the Hutu and the Tutsi. So they said, yeah, the Hutus, you have to kill them, and if you know somebody, tell us where he's hiding. So a bit, I don't know if I can say this, but what's sometimes happening here at the moment with against Muslims, maybe. It started with a radio station that was really pushing against the minority. And then they left for half a year, and then the situation was so violent in the country that they really started to kill people. So, but it all started with a radio station talking against the minority. So this was this very first project we were doing, and that was a reenactment. And then we did this other trilogy where we casted actors where we thought they have interesting stories to tell, and we asked them to come on stage and to tell their own biographies. So this was only storytelling, always 4 actors on stage. One's about the wars on Balkan, in former Yugoslavia, Serbia, Bosnia, and one the Balkan Empire, also about the refugee situation now in Europe. And there we, again talking about reality, we always reflect the position of the actors. So in this case, for example, we have Maya Morgenstern as one of the actresses. Maybe you have seen the movie of Mel Gibson, Compassion of the Christ. So Mel Gibson made a Hollywood movie about the last dying of Jesus. So she was playing Mother Mary in that movie. So her whole role was crying because her son is killed and tortured, murdered. So we took her on stage and she was telling about this kind of role she was playing. While on the other hand we had 2 actors from Syria on stage who were really tortured. And they talked about their tortures and their experiences. So this is Rami, and here he shows a picture of the prison where he was in Syria. And then together with Rami we went there, because for us it's really important to get this kind of experiences. And we went to Sinjar in the north of Iraq, where the Peshmerga were fighting with ISIS. And there you see the Peshmerga fighters, the Kurdish fighters, protecting their Kurdish and Yazidi people. So this is for us quite essential, and then we make videos and we put these videos back on stage in the show. So here, for example, he's telling there was an attack in this whole town. But this was the biggest discussion, and now coming back again to this question of what pictures are we allowed to show on stage. There was Rami, another actor, and his brother disappeared in Syria. So he was captured by the regime, and they don't know where he is. And I don't know if you heard about the story that Caesar was the person called, or it's his nickname. He was working for the regime, and then he changed the size, but he took pictures of everybody who was tortured and killed in the prisons of Assad in Syria. So he took 12,000 pictures of dead people, and he put them all online. So you can imagine what this means: 12,000 people died in prisons, and all their relatives, their friends, girlfriends, women, they don't know where they are. So they all have to look on this database, trying to find their loves, their brothers, their fathers. So this is of course what he also did, like watching 12,000 pictures, searching for his brother. And so we also discussed a lot of times, is it allowed to show these dead pictures of dead people on stage or not? Finally, we showed 20 of them, and also the one where he thinks that it's his brother, but he cannot be found. So this was a big discussion after we presented the show in Germany. Why do we do it? Is it allowed? Because we have, like since the 1980s, in Germany and France we have the debate of we are not allowed to show the victims. This was a big debate coming up after the movies about the Holocaust. Like there was Claude Lanzmann, a filmmaker from France, who said, even if there would be pictures of Holocaust victims, I would never show them. I would rather burn them instead of showing them, because that's again a violation of the victims. So why do we do it? And the only way of dealing with it is having the witnesses talk. But only talk, and everything is in your imagination, but never show it. So maybe you also had this discussion then when Steven Spielberg and Schindler's List, this was a bit of a breakthrough where they started to make fictional movies about the Holocaust. And since then the debate is still ongoing. So this was our contribution. Okay, yeah, what can be shown, what can be told on stage? The other debate is what positions do you want to bring on stage? Now talking not about pictures, but about narration and political positions. One other project that Milo was doing was Breivik statement. And maybe you heard about Breivik. He was a right-wing from Norwegian. And he killed 200 young socialists. So teenagers who went on a camping and he on an island, and he just went there and killed 200 people because they had another political opinion than him. So in his final speech in the court, where he said, "But I'm not guilty, I'm just defending my country because all the refugees coming in, so my country is destroyed, and I'm just defending my country." So this speech we brought on stage, and there, of course, there was also the discussion: why do you give this position a stage? Why do you stage this kind of right-wing populist arguments? But we found it interesting because, of course, in German theater you don't have the right-wing people sitting as the liberals and the left-wing anyway. So they are already critical towards this thinking. But it's amazing to really listen to it for 2 hours and to hear these arguments and to see where they even fit to what I personally think or not. I mean, it's really, they are not stupid, they are quite clever in their arguments, but of course it's not tolerable what they say and do. Okay, and then maybe the last example of this kind of, talking and showing things that you maybe should not present is a project we did 5 missing pieces about a master, like a child murderer in Belgium. He took 6 children, brought them in the basement and raped them for many weeks and a month and finally killed them. And we played this with the children. So this was of course kind of a difficult topic, but we thought this makes really clear the topic and the sensitivity, and we had one educator on stage who was at the same time a bit like not playing the rapist but playing the director. So he took the function of the director and told the children that now please play this scene, now let's talk about this topic. So this was about also a reflection about what are we doing here. If we do theater with the children for an adult audience, isn't that already like a kind of voyeurism? And isn't theater always voyeurism? And how can we protect the people on stage if they are still young, or if you have the feeling you have to protect them. But of course, children are much more clever than you mostly think. So there we researched adult actors who look like the children could look like in 20 years. And we made videos with the adult actors and had the children reenact that, so that it happened at the same time. And that you get a bit of the feeling that if you're born as a child into a world, then you just see what the adults are doing and you're imitating it. That's how we learn. And that's how all cultures constantly continue it. Because you learn what the adults are doing and you repeat it. So this of course was the most difficult scene of this play where a young girl was, she spoke the lines of the victim that was captured of before, and finally she was freed, so we have her letters and her memories. But what does it mean to play this? So the final scandal, of course, is, maybe the 120 Days of Sodom from Pasolini is one of the movies in the 20th century which is most discussed, and we made a theater version out of it. But there again, we asked handicapped actors to play it, because what is about to talk about people who are just killed nowadays. In Pasolini's time, he said, he was doing kind of critique against Nazism, fascism, and we were thinking about those people who in our society are all killed. These are handicapped people, because if parents get the diagnosis that their child will get handicapped, they just kill it in the stomach, like it's not born yet, but so 90% of them just aren't born anymore. So we were thinking about how can we transfer this kind of, you are not part of the society anymore, we just kill you into an experience of people who are really on stage. So we did this with people who had Trisomia 21 question. And of course there we also had this Christian symbol again, because Pasolini was very doing a lot of Christian movies, also like passionate. The gospel according to St. Matthew's. So this is coming back to this question: what can we show? What produces pity? What produces compassion? And I think we have to overcome this Catholic feeling of guilt, and always speaking about guilt, and I feel bad, and I'm guilty. But we really have to talk about responsibility, so about the future. How can we overcome special positions and special problems? So this is something that I'm interested in, to not only speak about what has happened. Of course you have to speak about everything that has happened. And in Germany we like doing it, about how many Jews we killed. So Germany is a culture of really accusing themselves of what they have done, and I think it's good, but it's not enough. You have to see what has to be done and how you can take over responsibility. So this is a bit what we find with other performance studies to going to far now. We are, beside the theater project, we are also doing courses and tribunals where we really try to be political. And in Moscow, we did a reenactment of the trial against Pussy Riot. Maybe you've heard about them. Pussy Riot is a music group that was accused.
This play is performed, or it is being...
This was done. We did it 3 years ago. So we went there and we asked everybody who was involved in the process to come on the theater scene for 3 days and read and do the process again, but now in fair conditions, and that under the law of Putin, who was of course influencing the judges. So it was a theater project, but in the end, they had to decide, it's only symbolic to say in the end that now you're free, but it's also of course a strong symbol and a strong motivation. And we did it at the place where the things originally happened. This is too funny. But then, of course, the state police came and tried to kick us out and said the visa are not fine. And then the Cossacks came with weapons. So it's like, the Russian system of...
This was in Moscow?
This was in Moscow, yeah. And then, of course, the state television came and they made fake news about, foreign nations try to influence our society, and this is, I mean, it's really strange.
But you were allowed to perform.
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning we didn't announce it officially. We just made it in the Sacherov Zentrum. But after 2 days they were informed, and then they came and tried to block it. But the funny thing is, because it was a trial that we were reenacting, we had a lot of lawyers in the room, so they of course helped us. And he, like you see the right person on the right, so he's the anchorman of the Russian state television. So he was included in our project to take over the position of the government. So of course when then the police came and he said, but no, here are like 20 international journalists, don't interrupt here, it's just theater. Because he understood what it means to, I mean, they play this game as long as there is no international media, but if you have international media, of course, the next day you have it everywhere. So this is this kind of power game that you always have when you make artistic projects. And then we did the same in Congo, but not about the cases that were already done, but saying we have to have a tribunal there, because there were so many things going on, and there was no justice at all. Especially like European enterprises coming and destroying the country, taking out gold, working together with the corrupt governments. So why not make a tribunal against government and the enterprises? And we did it also again as a theater project, 3 days in Congo, against these companies, and of course against the local government, because there was a massacre also when we were there. Yeah, so these are the political projects we are doing to really to step out of only doing theater for art people, but really influencing society. And this was the last project that we did like 100 years after the Russian Revolution. We said, what kind of revolution would we need today? So we stormed not the Petersburg, but we stormed the German Reich. After having 3 days of discussion, what should be changed in the world, and what should German politics do better. And for that we invited like 60 people from all over the world to discuss this topic, what should be changed. And from the unfortunately we did not have anybody from India, and I'm sorry for that. We had Kushika from Bangladesh, maybe you know her, and Nasir Mansour from Pakistan. So it was about labor conditions in the world and all these kind of topics. And we think that it's really important that artists try to mix their work with activists. And hopefully we will continue this general assembly like every 1 or 2 years in a different country. And hopefully we will also come to Delhi someday. This will be great. Thank you very much.
Well, friends, would you like to ask any question from Stefan Blaeske? Any question? Yes, please.
I sort of have a lot of questions, but I'll try to sum up some of them. First of all, the play last night was really in all the little things you tried to do. I love how you tried to, juxtapose some contradictions in those little terms, like you're shocked by this boy's image, but what would happen to you if you come to know about the Rwandan genocide? I mean, everything. It had beautiful threads like that. But a lot of my questions come from most of what you're doing is blurring that thin line between reality and art. You're kind of mixing all as you go, and you're crossing over a lot of this stuff. At what point do you just hold yourself like, okay, now we have to stop ourselves? Like there was a moment in last night she joked about the fact that our director wanted to call Anna's father, and so like these moments, there must be a lot of these moments that come across in your work. So how do you brace yourself? Okay, now we have to hold ourselves at this point. We can't go any further than that. And how did you find a fascination for this sort of stuff? This is the question. And the third thing I would like to ask is, the risks, I mean, how big a group are you? I mean, to synthesize this amount of information, I can bet there's a lot of risk that goes with it. We talked about Pasolini. Pasolini was scared for his views. He was a homosexual, so he was scared for his views. So what are the risks you face when when you actually go out in the field to gather this sort of information? I mean, there's a lot of things I want to ask, but I don't know. I'm not even coherent at this point. But this is more of an appreciation, kind of an admiration to what you do. So, thank you for this.
I mean, the risks, of course, are when we go to Iraq, to the war zone with you have the ISIS fighting Peshmerga and Goa in the middle of this time. So there you are risking a lot in Congo also. But I think for the rest, if you're not just in this kind of dangerous areas where it could happen that a grenade falls down, then it's not so risky, because in the end we are artists and we are from Europe, so we are kind of privileged. So even if we go to Moscow, I don't know, even if they try to put us in prison, we know that the German embassy will in the end try to help us, all the Swiss embassy. So of course we are privileged, but I think because we are privileged, we have to use it. And we have to use this power to go somewhere to point on things where maybe locals say that we cannot do it. If we do it, my family is in danger or whatever. So this is something which I feel a responsibility to use our position to do this. And this fascination for these topics, this is Milos. And our director Milo Rao is really fascinated by all these kind of cool things in the world. And sometimes I also think, why the fuck do we always deal with these dark topics and dangerous topics? But of course, I mean, that's what really matters. And of course, maybe someday we will also make a love comedy or something. But at the moment, we feel like there's so much to do. And it's really interesting to try to understand how the world and globalization functions and try to find a way how you as an artist, who in the end has no power, but how you can use some kind of attraction that you get for some projects and with some symbolic approach to really influence politics. And for example, in Congo, after we did the Congo tribunals, 2 ministers were dismissed. And of course then there come new ones and they are also corrupt, but at least we managed to do something, and now people are really trying to use this as an example. And we made DVDs of it and made it into the language of the country and spread it all over so that they really get an idea of how justice could work and that they should change something.
We do that for free, like dissemination.
Yeah, we do it. Yeah, we're trying to get money in Germany at the moment. So yeah, we have 100,000 now from just private donators who say it's a good thing, and then we can give it for free in Congo to everybody. So this is really
Anything else?
I mean, last time we clearly established that the actress was walking into a room. She clearly stated this in a section like, I don't need to scream anymore, I can walk into it. So, do you always tend to do this, or there are times when you leave your audience confused, like that are these actors on the stage or are these actual victims that are on the stage? And do you actually ever perform with victims? Do you actually bring victims or somebody who suffered those things you're talking about onto the stage or into your act? Have you ever done that?
Yeah. I mean, normally it's even more clear what is true and what is not true. In the other projects like the trilogy of you, which I talked about, there it's clear it's actors who only talk about their private biography. It's very clear. And in other projects it's clear they play roles. And in Compassionate, it's the project which is the most ambiguous, because Gonzalez is a really victim, it's really the story that she's telling. Whereas Rosina is a mixture of her own stories and stories of NGO workers who are really introduced.
All right, thank you.
Just one thing I would like to ask. Briefly just highlight the ethicality that you are saying when doing this. What is your position? Because you are doing it. So, the ethicality of putting this on stage and doing it, we are questioning that.
Yeah.
Could you just clarify your own stance?
My personal position.
You're doing it on the stage.
We are the doctors and we are also the directors, so we are very closely collaborating. And depending on the project, mostly the main work is the research, to really go to places, to meet as much people as possible, then to decide which topic is interesting, which actors are interesting. And then of course it takes a lot of power and energy to get money from the project and to get the people together. Because sometimes, I mean, this is also kind of what we do, that we bring people from opposite positions together. Like Martin and Dad bring together on one stage for 3 days to really discuss the topic. Because we think then it's getting interesting. Then it's the concept that you have in normal judges. If you have two positions and they can't come together, it's clear they will not find that they have to argue. So there, in the end, we are theatre makers. We search also the conflict and not the activist solutions. But it's also for us interesting to see positions colliding.
Yes, please.
The same thing which happened to you, that your pictures are used by people from your play. The same happened with Gandhi. Our finance minister Arun Jaitley unveiled a statue in UK, but they made a picture of a bank instead of paid the role of Gandhi in that film. So that's it. They are. So one more thing I want to know, as you said that you are not supposed to show so many things. But yesterday we watched your play. In that play, you have shown she is kissing on the stage. So that is allowed. She is kissing on the stage.
Kissing? Yeah, it was actually it was not allowed in Colombo and Calcutta. But for the rest, it was, I mean, yes. Yeah. She played more than 100 times now. And it was the first time.
For them it is okay, it's a difference of culture, you know, so for them it's okay.
Obviously. But of course it's this is kind of provocation, of course, where you, but yeah, I mean, she talks about the story about this person killed, so what is the real provocation? This person or is doing what? I mean, when I go to the streets, I see it like every few minutes. But it's only male, of course. This is very strange in this country. Or in many times in most countries, like in public, it's only male who you can see at doors clean. So there, of course, it's also kind of emancipation thing. And also, I mean, yeah, we see this. It's only male also sitting here. So I think there is a lot to do for emancipation everywhere, not only in consumer people.
What to show and what not to show is the question. And you see, it is not only the responsibility towards the state or responsible what breaks the rules and so on. It is also about the people. The responsibility to show what not to show to the people also. Because people may take certain things and may not take certain things. So that responsibility is also yours. And also the company, the actors who are performing. So they are walking on that edge of a sword, you know. So all these considerations are there when you make a play.
Yeah, we discuss it a lot, of course. And yeah, but in the end, I think it's of course, you can always censor yourself, and you can always say, you shouldn't do this or you shouldn't do that. But in the end, the interesting thing is people debating about it. That you're in a theater, you have a platform where you can put something on which is maybe not politically correct and maybe provocative, but then people can go out and discuss it. And of course, they can have good arguments to say this should not be allowed or no problem with that. Like be naked or whatever. But I think it's the important thing is that you have a room where it's possible to discuss it. If you forbid it from the beginning on and you say it should not happen, then you are not a free country. So, but then of course you can decide not to go to a show where a woman is kissing on stage. This is good, if you know it, of course. This is the job.
Well, friends, it remains for me to thank the three distinguished speakers and for a wonderful evening. Thank you, Stefan. Thank you, Sandeep, and thank you, Rajeev Lochan.
Thank you, sir, and many thanks to all of you. Tomorrow's seminar is at 11 a.m. with a new subject and with new speakers and chair. I hope I see all of you there. Thank you.